Okay, so this is going to be a really quick update on what's been going on recently. I haven't had a whole lot of time to put up videos lately. I do hope to be putting them out more often in the future. We've had some unrest here in my area of the country. We've also just come through Hurricane Matthew. So it's been quite a month for us, and we have not, unfortunately, had the ability to put out as many videos as we'd like. So really quick, I'd like to touch on just a few things that I think are really, really important, and that point to the fact that planet Nibiru is indeed getting closer. If we look at the weather patterns, hurricanes are back, and not only back, they are back in force. We've had probably 3 or 4 tropical storms that have come up and turned into hurricanes, although they've been pretty weak ones. Matthew was supposed to be a category 4. Looked a little bit less than that to me. I've seen the damage from Cat 4 living in the southeast most of my life, and I know that they can do a lot of damage. Matthew didn't really seem, maybe when it was over the Caribbean, over Haiti and things like that, the pictures I've seen there looked like it did a lot more damage than it did when it hit Florida. Certainly when it hit South Carolina and North Carolina. The pictures from there and the video from there show that it was bad, but it was mostly just brought in a lot of water, and the wind wasn't quite as bad as you would expect with a category 4 hurricane. So there's that. There's been quite a few articles recently on an existing fault line that runs perpendicular or to the side of the San Andreas Fault. So we have the San Andreas, and then we have another fault line that's running beside it. There's also been a lot of articles that are saying that the San Andreas Fault is getting ready to go. If you look back through the news for maybe the past month, you will see that there are probably anywhere from 8 to 10 different articles from major news outlets, mainstream media, that say that the San Andreas is getting ready to go. Then there is another article that came out that said the Midwest and the East Coast are just as susceptible to earthquakes as the West. So that's kind of strange, because living in the East Coast most of my life, I've only experienced one small, very, 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 very tiny earthquake in my entire life, and that was just a few years ago. Most of you will remember that. There was the quake that kind of rocked not rocked, but shook the East Coast just a little bit. And the reason for that, obviously, is that the East Coast sits on one big plate, and when you have an earthquake, it rocks that whole plate. So the rocking is very, very small and gentle, and you don't really feel it. I mean, you feel it, but it's just very, very, it's almost insignificant, the amount that you feel. Now, obviously, if we had a much bigger earthquake, it would be much more damage, or much more shaking and much more noticeable. But the earthquakes that we have had here on the East Coast, or the one earthquake that we have had on the East Coast, has been pretty small. So to hear that the West and specifically the East are also susceptible is very kind of shocking, that coming out of mainstream media as well. The West obviously has been having a lot in Oklahoma lately, but I didn't know that was related to the entire Midwest in general. So that is something to keep an eye on. Also, the sun. If you've seen the sunspots lately, something's really, really going on with the sun. The sun looks dead. The sun is supposed to have these, just be filled with these giant tentacles that reach out into space and provide us with electromagnetic energy in the form of radiation that interacts with our atmosphere, that gives us warmth. And the sun generally looks like this. However, It has gone blank for the 4th time this year, according to this article, and there's several other news articles out there in the space websites like space.com that will tell you that for the 4th time this year the sun has gone blank, which is kind of leading us to believe that there may be a mini ice age on the way, or maybe a larger ice age on the way. I also believe that this is indicative of a pass of Planet X. I believe that Nibiru is coming, and the energy that the sun is normally putting off is either being offset or drawn to the Planet X system. I do not have any proof of this. However, if you watch BP Earthwatch, that's a channel here on YouTube. I watch him every day. The guy is amazing, and he does some amazing coverage with sunspots, solar flares, coronal mass ejections, letting you know what the difference is between these and how they all affect our planet. You'd be very, very surprised if you don't already know how the solar weather and how galactic weather, or I'm gonna say, yeah, I guess it is galactic weather, weather in our galaxy in the Milky Way, or weather in, let's just say, weather in our solar system. Weather in our solar system really affects the weather on our planet, and it makes sense when you look at it from a scientific perspective. Obviously, when there's more electromagnetic and radioactive energy out there, there's more going on with the atmospheres of these planets. Now, we also come to another couple articles that say we have moons of Saturn and Jupiter spouting water into space, which is kind of strange because I thought that there was only one moon that we believed to have water on it, and that was one of the moons of Saturn, and that moon, the water on it was supposedly frozen. Now, I'm not sure if this water that is being, and they say it's jetting 120 miles off of the moon or the planetoid into space. So this is telling us that water exists in a lot more places than we thought it did in the universe. It's a lot more common than we thought it was, and that not only is it more common, but something's causing it to bubble out and burst 120 miles into space. What could that be? Well, obviously we know that if you've been watching, if you've been keeping up with solar weather and things like that, again, if you've been watching this channel, if you've been watching BP Earthwatch, you know that the inner planets, and when I say inner planets, I mean everything up to Mars, everything, on this side of the Kuiper Belt, have been heating up from the inside. And it looks like now some of the outer planets and their planetoids and moons are heating up from maybe the inside. What else could cause this water or water vapor to shoot 120 miles up off of the planet and into space? I'm not sure, but it stands to reason that if the planet was heating up or boiling from the inside, the water would melt or would expand and shoot out, just kind of like ice or anything else. You put ice in a, pack a pan full of ice and boil it, then you're gonna get water vapor, which would be under very, very high pressure, which would shoot out eventually. If you had a pressure cooker and where the top locked on and it wasn't letting out any of that gas, eventually when you click the top of that pressure cooker, it shoots out some of the excess steam, and that steam jets out, and then the pressure is released. So it seems like something strange like that is going on these moons that are just jetting out water all of a sudden. Very, very strange. interesting to watch if you are a watchman and you are watching what is going on with Planet X and its approach into our inner solar system. Again, I believe that this is evidence that this planet and it's I think it's a system. I believe more in the theory that it is a planetary system. It may be led by a brown dwarf star, and that would mean that we, like many other star systems in the galaxy, are a binary star system. Most star systems in the galaxy are binary star systems. If you didn't know that, it's easy enough to find out on any of, just Google it. You can find out that most star systems are binary star systems, which do revolve around each other. And again, time to time, they do bring their planets and solar bodies, planetary bodies, into connection and through each other. So this could be an event like that. This could also mean that if Planet X passes by at a distance, where it only causes some less than apocalyptic damage, we could still be experiencing some type of apocalyptic damage due to the fact that the sun has very, very much calmed down, and we could be headed into a mini ice age or even a longer term ice age. So with that together, the last thing we will talk about today is the fact that there was 3 countries, Germany, Finland, and Czech Republic, who all warned their citizens to keep on hand at least 10 days supplies. Germany said 10 days supplies for unrest and possible crises. Finland came out and told their folks, the people of their country, to prepare for the worst. Czech Republic was more in the middle and said be prepared for just about anything. So with all of these things together, along with creepy clown sightings and everything else that's going on in the world, and it just points to it's been a crazy month, and I implore you to connect the dots. I implore you to stay prepared, stay smart, and stay up to date with what is going on, because one day we may all see something in the sky and have anywhere from a few hours to a few days or maybe a few weeks to make the ultimate preparations for that. And finally, I would like to leave you with what I think is probably the best footage of a second sun, possibly a planet of Nibiru, possibly the planet Nibiru. It could be the brown dwarf that is supposedly in the system. Not really sure. It's tough to tell, but I can tell you that I have never seen better footage of a second sun. Well, let's just say that it's obvious that this is not a solar flare and that this is an object in the sky, and you can decide what type of object you believe that is. We'll leave you with that, and we hope to see you soon.